Hi y'all, so today I am going to be interviewing James. And for those that don't know, James is the one that actually owns Goat Farm Road. I just manage it. But he don't even know I'm going to be interviewing him today. Yes, I got all kinds of questions written down for him. And I appreciate everyone that also gave me questions to ask him. I've came up with my own questions to ask him as well. But he's over here working where we got flooded out from Hurricane Sally. We got flooded out from the creek. It took our fence down. So he's been over here working for like a week trying to fix it. So let's sneak up on him and start interviewing him. He might get mad at first though. We'll find out. Hey you. And you're so nasty. Well, this is where we got washed out. James had to dig all this out to make the water drain. So it did nothing but tear our fence down from there all the way up here. I don't think he's even noticed me yet. Looks like he's moving some trees around that he's brought down. Turn about this way. Come here, Ann. Hey, James! Come here! He might have the backhoe stuck. Y'all about to be entertained for a little bit. Well, he's running out of there. Guess he don't know where to put the thing. You busy?
Always. What are you doing with the phone? Recording it.
Interview time.
For what?
YouTube. Figured this would be a good chance for everyone to meet the owner of Goat Farm Road instead of the manager.
So what's on your mind?
Come on, let's sit in the shade. So you can get interviewed. Can kind of, I guess, know the owner of Goat Farm Road and how he feels about his goats, why he's raising them, and things like that.
All right.
You ready?
Ready?
All right. So, what got you into goat farming?
Goat farming. Well, everybody and their brother raises cows, and half of them folks raise sheep. About 98% of all goat meat eaten in the United States is shipped in from Australia, Queensland, Mexico, places like that. So it's a wide open market for us that raise goats to make a profit.
All right. But is that why you're farming them now?
That's why I'm farming goats now, to make a profit.
Okay. So how did Goat Farm Road come to be then?
Goat Farm Road come to be about a year ago. It was under a different name, and I hired somebody to come to work out here, and they started calling it Goat Farm Road because the road coming in here's name is Goat Farm Road, and everything wound up going to Goat Farm Road instead of what it used to be.
So it just kind of stuck.
It stuck. The name stuck, Goat Farm Road, because of the road sign.
Everyone seems to love the name though.
Whatever works.
Alright, so what was your first goat? Tell us about him / her, and how old was he / her, and what breed was it?
Well, the first goat since you talking about since I've had a goat since I was all in my life, or?
However you want to answer it.
Alright. When I was 5 or 6, we had 2 goats. One of them's name was Snow White, and the other one's name was Nettie. Mine's name was Nettie. And I enjoyed them goats, and I have enjoyed goats ever since.
So goats have been your whole life then?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, what breed of goat is your favorite, and why is that your favorite breed of goat?
I don't have a favorite. I raise Kiko goats mainly now because of the survivability. You know, that's the name of the game. You want everything to live, so that's Kiko's is what I got. But I guess if I had a favorite to pick as a pet, it'd probably be a pygmy goat.
Why pygmy?
Because they're small and won't cause near the trouble as a big goat.
This is true. Alright, do you think goats are hard to raise?
I think goats can be very hard to raise.
Why's that?
If you raise them on a large scale, you got to have somebody with them at all times. There's everything out there wanting to eat goat. And you got to have somebody with them to protect them. You got to have somebody to look after them because of the parasites, because of the humidity we have. And their overall goat wants them to, they walk around eating with one eye on the fence looking for a hole to stick their head in.
Okay. Now, what is the difference between someone raising, say, 15 goats up to maybe 150, 200 goats? What is the difference?
The difference in 15 goats to 150 goats. If you're raising 15 goats, it's easy to go out there every other day, every other week, or every 3 months, or whatever, and put your hand on every one of them and look at them. When you got 150 head of goats, or more, it's hard to do that. And you have to raise for survivability, whereas if you're raising 15 or 20 goats, you can put your hands on them at any given time to do the necessary things that has to be done, worming, vaccinating, or whatever. Whereas on 150 head, you can't just go out there and catch 150 goats every other week.
Right. Alright. And how do you go about selling these goats when you have some for sale?
They're all sold off of the farm page. And sometimes if we got extra goats, we may take them to a sale here, there, or yonder.
Yeah. Now, how do you diagnose a sick goat, and how would you go about treating that said sick goat?
Well, the sick goat, you have to go and you have to see what's going on with the goat, check its temperature, look in its eyes, look in its mouth, try to figure out what's going on, try to make a diagnosis of what's going on with the goat, whether it's bloat, whether they're wormy, whether they've eaten something that's poisonous, and go from there. And it can be start and go, crash and burn at any time with that goat. Goats, they live fast and die quick.
Do you raise bottle babies?
I do.
Right.
I think all animals and people deserve a chance, and we raise the bottle babies, or we sell them. Most of the time we sell them. And you know, like I said, everything that deserves a chance to live, and we're gonna give it that opportunity here.
Right. Do you think there's a big difference between a bottle-raised goat to one that's raised off its mama?
There's a big difference. Some people's gonna say that the bottle goat baby won't survive in a big herd, and some people's gonna say they're a nuisance. And most of the time, they are a nuisance. They're gonna be on top of your truck. They're gonna be under your tractor. They're gonna be in your feed barn. They're gonna be on top of your rabbit house, and everywhere else that they can get when you're not looking. And bottle babies in the herd are good goats to have in the herd if you got, you know, if they made it that far. Especially in a big herd, if you got, just say 150 head of goats, and you got 5 bottle babies out there that you raise as grown goats producing, it's easier to go out there and catch those 5 on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis and inspect them, look through their, you know, go over them, make sure there's nothing wrong with them, look and see if they're wormy or whatever. And that kind of gives you a perspective on the whole herd, and they're a lot easier to catch.
Now, does the color of a goat make a big difference?
It does.
How so?
Some goats bring more money because of color. But if you're raising goats on a large scale, in my experience, you prefer a white goat.
Why the white goat?
The white goat, it's easy to walk beside or behind or when you're moving goats and around where their skin's showing, around their eyes and around their tail and stuff like that. If that skin's starting to get pale and it's not pink and it's getting pale, that tells you that goat needs some attention.
Alright. Do you think a goat will get in water?
A goat will get in water. Goats, I've seen goats swim, and I've seen goats belly deep grazing on cattails. But they're still going to run for the hills when it rains.
They don't like to be wet.
No.
But yet they'll stand in water.
They'll stand in water.
That's crazy. Now, how do you choose a real good billy for your herd?
Well, if you need a billy, you know, it's always said that the billy is half your herd. And you need to treat the billy as half a herd because he's the one producing the babies that's going to make you money. And you always try to find one where somebody's, you know, raising open range goats, if that's the kind of business you in, that's you know, disease tolerant, parasite tolerant, something that can survive on its own. And, you know, there again, that's for the 150 head of goats or more, whereas, you know, if you got 15 goats in your backyard, and you see a billy you like, he might be worth a shot just because of his color. But otherwise, you need to try to find one that's disease and parasite tolerant.
Now, how do you look for worms in a goat or sheep, and how would you go about treating them, and with what?
All right, well, number one, we always, like I said earlier, we look for paleness around their tails, their eyes, or their lips, you know. That's because you can't catch all of them, so you do a visual inspection. And back to the bottle babies that's in the herd that was grown goats, they're easy to catch. And you know, if you got 2 or 3 bottle babies per 100 that you got, you know, it gives you an overall, you know, view of what the goats most likely look like. But every now and then you'll see the one that starts to lose the weight, one that's sagging behind, and they usually need some attention, and it'll be, you know, worms most of the time. And we don't, you know, we don't worm on a schedule. We worm on demand, and that goat would need attention, and it would need to be wormed, and we mix a lot of wormers together and give it to them, and that's something that other people would need to talk to their vets about before they try it.
Alright. So, you are raising the sheep for the horns.
Yes.
Why?
Because they bring pretty decent money to the hunting preserves, and they're also a good meat sheep. They're a hair sheep, they're Barbados, and they don't grow as quick as Katahdins and stuff like that, but they grow pretty quick. But they're very tolerant to parasites. They're very, disease tolerant. We got a couple hundred head of sheep, and we've hardly ever touched those sheep. And that's the kind of sheep you got all that out of.
So you would have to probably say that the Barbados sheep are probably your favorite sheep, even though you've got a few Katahdins and some Black Hawaiians.
Yes, the Barbados sheep seems to be the best sheep for us with what we got going on. You know, you use them for meat, you can use them for hunting trophies, just backyard grazers, whatever anybody wants with them, and they do good for us. And we're raising them, you know, for horns. We've spent several dollars getting good sheep in here with decent horns, you know, and that's our goal is the horns.
Right. If you ever have to lock an animal up, what is the biggest reason for locking that animal up?
Locking an animal up is usually a sick animal, or one that's fell behind the herd and got very wormy, or their feet get bad or something, and we try to, you know, we call those goats as quickly as possible.
Just for extra attention.
Right. We get rid of them. You know, if they're gonna cause us problems, they got to go. They can't stay, and that's you know, on the large scale, that's how you got to do it. In the backyard, yes, you can get those goats back to good health, and they'd probably be good goats.
Is there other animals on the farm other than the goats and the sheep?
Yes, we got chickens and ducks and guineas and geese and rabbits and horses and a donkey. I think that about cleared it all up.
Do the animals have free range of roaming, or do you lock them up all day long?
All animals have free range, with the exception of a few rabbits. And we do have rabbits that are free range. We got about probably 4 acres fenced in just for rabbits, and they're on the ground doing good. And then, you know, with the exception of the ones that's due to have babies, is in a cage. And they'll be, you know, and they're released. Once they have their babies is old enough to get rid of, they're released and then caught back later.
What kind of animals do you use as guardian animals?
We use dogs. We got 7 dogs now. We try to keep 1 dog per 100 head of animals to guard, sheep or goats. We got 7 dogs and 1 donkey.
What breed of dogs are they?
Anatolian Shepherd and Great Pyrenees. Some crossed and some pure.
Do you ever have a vet come look at any of the animals?
Most of the time, we take the animals to the vet. It's easier on the vet. It's cheaper on us, and they, you know, we just haul them and take them to the vet. If by means we need the vet, we do call him, and he will respond as quickly as possible.
Now, how do you feel about the vets in this area with their goat experience?
I've not dealt with many goats or vets that know a lot about a goat. But at the moment we use Sandersville Veterinary Clinic, and those vets up there seem to do real well.
Is the farm completely self-sufficient, and how so?
The farm is completely self-sufficient. It makes enough money to keep itself going. You know, and we produce our own electricity here. We're off. The farm is completely off the grid. It runs on water power and solar power and backup generators when needed. And you know, usually the animals cover the cost to run the farm per year.
How much does it cost to run the farm a whole year?
To run the farm now, this year will be about $45,000.
How many pounds of feed does the farm go through in a year?
Probably, this is an estimate because I don't really know when you say feed, as that's all animals.
All animals.
Probably 20-25 tons of feed a year.
What kind of feed do we buy, and or is it cheaper to make our own feed?
Well, we buy the rabbit food, which it would cost too much to pelletize feed, to buy a machine to pelletize feed just for us. We're not gonna make no rabbit feed. Dog food, we buy dog food too. Goat feed, we make our own goat feed, and it is cheaper to make our own goat feed. We make about a 28% protein food, and it's cost us about $200 a ton to make that for the goats.
What? How do you feel about feeding the goats and sheep feed and or hay?
Well, the goats, the goats has got to eat, and I feel very strongly about feeding my animals. A lot of people think you take goats and throw them out there in the yard or in the woods or wherever and they'll survive. Years ago they may have done that, but this day and time it don't happen. And I highly recommend everybody to feed their animals. I mean, there's always a way you can feed your animals at a lower cost than buying feed from the feed stores. And if you can't afford to buy the feed, you don't need the animals.
Here's our last question. What do you do in your free time?
I don't have none.
Really?
I
No
fix
free time?
fence. What do you do in your free time?
It's really at night. Or watch TV for like 3 hours and go to bed and repeat all over again.
When I get some free time, I'll let you know what I do.
Okay.
All right. That it?
That's it. That concludes our interview with you.
All righty. Thank everybody.